So it's the Masters at Augusta. It's the first major of the season. That means it's time to make a mess of the lawn again. So how do you trade golf? That's what we're going to talk about in this video.
Click here to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get instant notification of new videos as they're released.
So golf is a really interesting sport to trade because it's so variable. At the beginning of a tournament, odds are fairly equal, but what you'll find as the tournament progresses is there's the finest of margin between individual players. So golf majors are played over 4 days, and the first 2 days the players are trying to get to the weekend. And when players do that, then there's a cut at that particular point, and half the field, or more than half the field sometimes, is lost. And only half of the top players get to go on to play at the weekend and compete for the championship. So you have two different types of players. You've got the professional players that are in with a chance of making the cut and going on to compete for the championship. Their objective is to get to the weekend and then compete on the Saturday and the Sunday. But you will also have players that probably won't make the cut. They'll be a bit more adventurous, and they can actually attempt to make the cut through being a bit more speculative. So there's quite a big dynamic in golf when you're looking at those particular aspects. And then you need to look at the course as well. So different courses play differently. Some play long, some play short, and have different challenges. But the great thing about Augusta is they play the Masters at Augusta every year. So you can actually map out the course, and it's perfectly possible to figure out which holes are likely to allow players to gain shots and which ones are allowed to drop shots. So when you look at the course has different dynamics and will allow you to trade in and out based upon where players are likely to gain or drop shots. So the interesting thing about golf as well is you can have up to 144 players or more or less, but very, very big numbers on each individual competition. And the strange thing about that is that it's very possible that the leader may actually be in the clubhouse at some point or another, and then the rest of the pack have to chase him. So you can actually gain from that because you can trade the leader even though he isn't actually on course. If the leader's on course and you have a player coming up to play an easy set of holes, it's probably likely that the price of the leader will drift. However, if the leader is in the clubhouse and somebody's coming up to a difficult set of holes, then what you'll find is that the price on the leader may shorten when those players aren't able to make par or birdie. So that's another interesting dynamic of golf. So you don't have to make individual decisions on individual players. You can always go for groups of players at either larger prices, shorter prices, players that are in form, out of form. There are a number of different ways to pick the characteristics of those individual players. So you can trade by individual players, or even when the player actually isn't on the course, it's possible to be able to trade off of that as well. So golf is very variable and the odds fly around all over the place. And as anybody who's played golf will tell you, it's sort of very difficult to be consistent because you'll probably make an error at some point. And because at the top level, the difference between the players is only a few strokes. So all it takes is one mistake, a shank into a bunker or into some water, playing up the wrong shot or going into the trees, for the odds to change dramatically. So it very often pays to be able to go oppose a player even though they're in the lead or playing particularly well. As anybody will tell you who's played golf, keeping that up for an entire round, and especially over 4 days and 4 rounds, is very hard. So that introduces a huge amount of variability into golf, and variability in terms of trading golf produces opportunity. So the interesting thing about golf is there are many ways to trade it. You're generally trading at much bigger prices. Of course, there will only be one winner out of the 70 to 140 players, so the majority of those prices will drift. But also you've got very interesting dynamics in golf, and that's what makes it very interesting to trade. So I hope some of that's been useful to you. If you're interested in learning a little bit more, why not come onto the forum and chat about it? But golf is an interesting sport to trade. The majors tend to produce the biggest amount of volume, many millions, tens of millions of pounds in volume. Some of the other tournaments are okay as well, but there are opportunities in golf, and that's why I suggest you give it a go.
If you're interested in learning more about BetAngel, its tools and the opportunities they present, then why not visit betangel.com today and download a free trial.